Ladies and gentlemen, digital assets are rising as a new asset class, driven by innovation and growing interest from financial institutions, regulators, and professional investors. So we may ask, are they becoming a core part of investment portfolios? And in today's complex global landscape marked by inflation, shifting interest rates, and geopolitical uncertainty, can digital assets serve as a long-term hedge against risk? Ladies and gentlemen, now let's join us in the following discussion to explore the evolution of digital assets. Now let's welcome on the stage our distinguished panelist, Executive Director of Huatai Financial Holdings. Please welcome on the stage Mr. Jason Dominic, CEO and co-founder of On-Chain Labs. Please welcome Mr. Volker Usize, COO of Bijit. And let's welcome Mr. Daniel Haler, PM and Senior Analyst of EFN Asset Management. And let's welcome our moderator. Let's welcome Mr. Thomas Nguyen, Chief Global Markets Officer of SSI Securities Corporation. And now, let's begin this exciting panel discussion. Let's begin our panel discussion.
Okay, let's get the party started. My name is Tom Nguyen, and I work with SSI. Let me start with making a confession. And my confession is I feel totally underqualified to be sitting up here. Totally underqualified. Everything that Zane talked about, I'm the opposite of. I'll give you one personal fact. Before I prepared for this panel, I checked in with my wealth manager. I'm a U.S. citizen, and I grew up in the U.S. I have less than 1% of my personal wealth in anything related to crypto. In fact, the actual number is 0.65. So I'm really embarrassed to be sitting up here and moderating this panel amongst these experts. But you know what? Here's the good news. The good news is that I do believe that I have the dream panel. If you look across at my colleagues here, Dan Heiler, I've known him for 20 years. He was actually a star analyst on Wall Street, the #1 ranked analyst on probably the most important tech company in the world, TSMC. And then after he left BAML, he went to work for TSMC. So we have somebody sitting on this panel who truly understands technology, understands the internet, and now he's in love with crypto. So perhaps you can convince me to raise my allocation after this presentation. We have Vugar, who is the COO of one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world, and we will certainly talk about new products here coming out to the market. Jason is a fanatic around the space, and I had dinner with Jason last night, and I can't say that I agree with everything he says, but I love his passion for this space, and I can learn a lot from talking to him. And certainly we have Li Jian from Huatai, arguably the most important securities firm in China. And you know, speaking about crypto is quite sensitive in China, so I'm really privileged to have Dr. Li Jian here and the friendship we have with Huatai at SSI. So let's get it started. Dan, we don't have much time, okay? And because I know you the longest, I'm gonna pick on you first. You've seen the internet cycle. You've seen the mobile cycle. Tell me what differences, what similarities that you see from from the crypto cycle, and why you have shifted from looking at traditional tech into this space.
First off, thanks, Tom, for having me. Great to see you again. Tom is a very senior guy at Merrill Lynch, so it's an honor to be here. But it's amazing our paths have crossed here in Vietnam after, say, 15 years. And I've seen all of these countries in Asia kind of evolve one after another, right? East Asia first, then China. And just to be here in Vietnam and see this country emerge at probably the most interesting time in history, with the confluence of so many technologies coming together at the same time. What an amazing opportunity for this country and a young population and regulators that get it. The U.S. is a country that didn't get it for a while, but is just starting to get it on regulation. So congratulations, and it's great to be here. So with that, yeah, I can't emphasize enough the similarities between every tech cycle, and this is yet another one. I think you put your glasses on every time, and you want to look at the technology itself, the standards, and the user experience. So internet, everyone, and I'm a technologist. I was a semiconductor analyst. I said, to investors, have faith. Applications will always be there. The hardware and the software will always drive amazing applications. And here we are today, the most amazing application, which is blockchain and AI coming together. So with the internet, it was exactly the same. Super hype, super bullish. This is going to change the whole world. We're going to have everything online. And that was, in 2000. And we had a massive bubble. But most of the things that were envisioned at that time are just starting to be realized, right? You think about just journalists. I used to say, the journalists were going to take over the newspapers. We won't need newspapers anymore in 2000. We're just going to listen to individuals, and but that didn't happen. The actual real businesses became digital first. So real businesses first become digital. They figure it out because they know the business, they know the customers, and they have the platforms. So platforms and standards first. And the technologies guys are always pushing the edge. Well, here we are today. Now we have bloggers. Now we have, Stack. We get our sources now from our individuals. We have X. But look how long it took. So with crypto, I see the exact same thing, that's happened. I was very interested early on. We had the anarchists wearing sandals and shorts and burning up ATM machines, saying that we're going to take over the world and we don't need the bad banks anymore. Remember Occupy Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
And I wore a suit today just to be contrarian, because I'm old school. But this is good news, because the guys with the suits and the ties showed up at the crypto conferences, say, 5, 10, 7, 8 years ago. And as the technology guys pushed very hard, it forced the old school traditional finance guys to learn what's going on. And at these conferences, you're hearing conversations between regulators and traditional finance and technologists to kind of figure it all out. So as long as you tick all the boxes that Virginia just put up there, the digital world will work, right? And I think right now what I see, we are at this inflection point after the hype, the disappointment, the volatility. Here we're still very small, but I would encourage you, Tom, to get on the train here because it's just about to happen.
Okay. I got it. I was going to go with Vugar next, but because you're talking about the timing element of this, expectations, disappointment, inflection, I want to jump, I apologize, Vugar, to Jason, because I was stalking Jason because to prepare for this, I really wanted to get to know my speaker. So I was stalking Jason online, and you made a comment in 2024 that my bank account would be obsolete. All of our bank accounts would be obsolete in 6 to 12 months. Well, today I still use JP Morgan in the US and I use BIDV in Vietnam, okay? So I'm still using my bank account. So I'm not picking on you here, but I do want to understand your thought behind that. And in 2025, have your thoughts changed, and what are the challenges to your model?
Thoughts haven't changed, so reassuring everyone. I think where I was coming from is essentially when you think about banking and the way it's kind of working today is the services are basically coupled with a back-end infrastructure. And blockchain in many different respects enables these decoupling of various different kind of situations. And for banking, what's going to happen is right now, if you look at the last 10 to 15 years, the neo-banking wave, things like Revolut, Monzo, and various different other neobanks that are running on traditional bank kind of licenses and everything in the back end, now that won't be required, because with the advent of blockchain, basically you'll be able to see the rise and the popularization of these new banks that are coming out of nowhere. And we're essentially going to start seeing hundreds, if not thousands, of new banks. And what I meant by what I said in 24, which is essentially just last year, is now when you're going to look at new service providers, because there's something enticing, maybe a great yield or this new type of financial service, and you're going to sign up for it, you might not even know that it's actually running on blockchain. So the shift is happening, and what I was about to say is basically a lot of people, I know that you haven't made the switch yet, but a lot of people are going to be making the switch without noticing and knowing that the actual services that they're consuming from a financial perspective are actually being powered by blockchain. And just as a last add-on, and maybe from a top-tier financial type of services and banking perspective, the shift has already, started happening. A lot of these, too big to fail banks are actually becoming, powered by stablecoins and blockchain under the hood. And the users aren't even aware that if I'm doing a transaction between, let's say, I'm sending, a transfer to someone within the same bank, it's actually stablecoin that is going to be doing this transfer of minus and plus on the ledger of the bank.
So you might be answering this question already, but how far are we, do you think, from everyday banking service being on chain, which is the mission of your lab? Is that right?
Yeah. I think in some respect of the world, we're already there.
Wow, okay.
Especially in the last 6 to 12 months, we've seen a lot of emergence of what they call global accounts and global money and all these things in South America and some parts of Europe and Asia, where there's kind of this problem of inflation where it's a risk for the individuals, and what they want is have access to something that is more stable. Either, right now is the USD, but it's already happening, and there's incredible amount of growth in that specific category right now.
Got it. I'm going to go. Thank you for that. I wasn't picking on you, so we're still in 12 months, so no worries. Ugar, I'd love to ask you, in terms of the exchange and the traditional banks, the competition there, can traditional banks really compete with the exchanges and vice versa? Help me understand that dynamic in your world.
Before we jump on that question, you just mentioned that you use JP Morgan, I believe, right?
Yes.
And for last 3 years, they actually run their own private chain. Most of the transactions you do, they already happen on the blockchain without you feeling it. It means big banks are already there, and big banks are already there.
So are you telling me I'm more crypto native than I thought?
That's the thing. Like, most of the time, we don't have to know how things work. The same way we don't know how Apple Pay works, as long as it solves your problem. And coming back to that question, like, since 2017, I started debanking myself, and today I literally don't rely on any bank. I still am a customer of a bank because I have to call them all the time and wait 20 minutes in order to cancel, and every time I try to cancel, they send me a bigger credit limit card. Okay. It's like a vicious circle. It's very hard to debank yourself than anything else than opening a bank account. And if you asked me this question 3 years ago, I would say that, in next 3, 4, 5 years, crypto exchanges will become next banks. But today we see that banks actually becoming a crypto exchanges, because for them, adding a crypto solution is similarly offering, access to stock market or commodities market. It's just a feature. And because banks already have this large customer audience, and there's a huge need, we see almost all large banks today, especially the neobanks, offer the crypto solutions, offer at least buying the crypto in a very easy way. Competition is very huge, and what makes exchanges more agile is that we are faster than banks. We don't depend on the central banks. We don't operate on a quicksand because banks are very traditional. They are really afraid of the legislations. First, they need the legislation to operate. They can't innovate as fast as we do. Therefore, I believe exchanges are today becoming this new hub, especially for the new generation, like a Gen X and probably half of the millennials who are still keen on building self-wealth. And if we discuss this similarly, the way you called your wealth manager, and your less than 1% of your wealth is in crypto, like, if today we look at my portfolio, probably 98% of it in crypto. And if we look at almost any Gen Z, we will see that most of our wealth is in the digital assets, because we are kind of a digital first nation. We are born with mobile phone in our hands. Therefore, it is something different. And I've read a tweet recently. The tweet said that was by a millennial, let's say, influencer. He was like, boomers had affordable housing, and Gen X danced on TikTok still Now they have their own apartments and housing, and unfortunately millennials could never figure out how to make money. And I think we are in this kind of a breaking point that we have this very big red line, whether you are super traditional, still you know how to hold your wealth in a, I don't know, 5% return every year or S&P 500, or you are super risk adverse, you understand the technology and you know where to invest your money and you make that 10x, 20x growth, and whoever left in between, they are the ones we actually will need to take care of.
So maybe I can just throw this out to you, then of course I haven't forgotten about you yet, okay? So, but what do you think is the barrier to bigger and faster adoption of this? Now, I know there's a tension here because when you speak to Zain announced today that crypto is the 6th biggest, asset class in the world. And yeah, that's cool, okay? But it's only 6 and it's only 4 trillion. So from sitting where I sit, is the barrier that I'm just stupid and I don't get this technology and I'm so old that I'll never get it? Or are there certain key blocks that all of you have seen or are seeing that's going to accelerate adoption?
2 years ago, when I became the CEO at BitGet, we had 11 million customers. Today, we serve 120 million customers. In 2 years, we grew 10 times. The speed is really high. It's not the way we want. But in my opinion, the first 10 years of the crypto problem was that we wanted to educate everyone to come invest and make a lot of money in crypto because there's a huge opportunity. But adoption is not where people make a lot of money because getting, 1 billion traders or 1 billion investors isn't a realistic number. The same way we all use our bank, but we don't have, 2 billion people who have like an active saving account or they invest actively at S&P 500. That was our, I think that when we talk about adoption, that is one of the problems. Today at BitGet, we have BitGet Pay, which is actually a payment gateway, Stripe/Visa card/blockchain to solve the payment solution. And that is where the adoption will come. And I think in next 2-3 years, we will see so many people using crypto actually to settle payments, pay for their coffee and for their barbershop without investing. And we will all be adopting or using the same way you use your JP Morgan. You don't know it runs on a blockchain, but it also doesn't affect your life in that positive jump. While in first 10 years of the crypto, we always wanted to promote crypto as an investment vehicle where you can make, 10x, 20x, you can beat S&P 500 and inflation. And when we talk about adoption, we need to understand, are we talking adoption from the financial literacy and investment perspective, or is it the technology we use every day? Because today, Unilever's entire logistics system or Dubai ports run on blockchain, and most of the products we pick from the shelf probably at some point touch blockchain because the logistics run on chain without actually impacting our life or our savings or our financial literacy in that meaning. And in my opinion, like if you look adoption, the use of technology, it's very high. If we talk adoption about financial literacy and how we can make more money from it, it's not there yet.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to shift gears a little bit over to stablecoin. It's interesting because at least in my little knowledge, there's 2 big events that's happened. Of course, the Genius Act. Certainly, we will touch upon that a little bit. But, in speaking to Dr. Lien Jin from Huatai here, he mentioned to me that, Hong Kong is in the process of legalizing stablecoin. And I found that to be extreme surprise to me, given my knowledge of how China views the space. So can you give me just a broad, or our audience, the broad consideration why this is happening in Hong Kong and what it really means? Because it seems to me it could be something really significant that we're not keeping an eye on.
Thanks, Tom. Right now, today, Hong Kong actually formally launched its legislation on stablecoin, just today. Yeah, today. So it's quite a milestone. My view is the Web3 world is coming, inevitably. And the Web2 world, they have to find a way to interact with Web3 world. And the stablecoin is very special. It's a link between Web3 and Web2 world. It's a crypto asset, of course. It is based on blockchain. And it's strongly pegged to fiat currency, US dollar, Hong Kong dollar, etc. So it's a link between...
RMB?
Not yet. So it's a link between Web 2 and Web 3. So how to regulate the interaction between Web 2 and Web 3 world is a question in front of different sovereign countries, economic bodies. I think the legislation in US and Hong Kong and Europe, Singapore, etc., they try to set up the rules in terms of how the Web 3 world to interact with Web 2 world. So that's the first thing. And in Hong Kong, why they launched the stablecoin? Why do they want to grow the cryptocurrency in Hong Kong? I think they are not considering the trading activities in terms of other crypto assets. They are thinking about cross-border payment. They are thinking about RWA. Because Hong Kong and China together, they are very big exporter in the world and importer in the world. In Hong Kong, for example, the total trading volume exceeding 10 trillion Hong Kong dollar every year. If a small part of that trading volume is replaced by stablecoin in terms of cross-border payment, that will be a big number. Yeah. And RWA actually is another topic, hot topic.
So I assume the central government has given the green light on this because it couldn't happen in Hong Kong without their green light, I assume?
I think the mainland government, actually, they would like to see Hong Kong to test the water in the first place. Okay. Let's see how the stablecoin Hong Kong goes in the future, how the stablecoin will settle the cross-border payment difficulties. Let's see first. And if that's successful, I would say RMB-based stablecoin is not impossible in the future.
Got it. And then maybe, go ahead.
I was just going to say this exactly, your previous question, which was what's going to accelerate adoption for real investors, and it is a very small percent. Crypto is small, but the stable coin, I think people really need to understand the trade finance is massive. The amount of inefficiencies in wiring money back and forth and payables. I mean, Honhai, people don't pay, Honhai pays its suppliers in 6 months. And all of this kind of trapped up volume across global, this is where I think the real win is. Decentralized finance will be interesting, but I think the real win short term is going to be trade finance and the ability to actually pay suppliers faster. Value will be recognized much quicker across the supply chain, and it increases the velocity of money. Everything's about velocity of money, right? With internet, with information, with AI, velocity of information, velocity of money, and it's just a massive economic driver as well. I think the other thing is with regard to the cost of financing, the factoring. The big companies have always won in the world, right? This is the other beautiful thing. Big companies can have a letter of credit, and they can stay afloat, and they can pay their suppliers and and receive it. So they have a huge flow. But for the small vendors in the world, they can't really finance their business. This is where I think stablecoin is going to be a massive benefit to the global economy and the smaller players.
Got it. And then can you make some projections? What are your projections for stablecoin in Hong Kong in terms of growth and adoption and so on?
It's too early to give an educated forecast, but we can do some guesswork. Let's talk about the USD stablecoin. The volume is 1% of the currency volume, M2, USD M2, only 1%. And the Hong Kong dollar M2 is 19 trillion. So we use the same percentage. It's 190 billion Hong Kong dollar. Yeah. So that's a very rough number, maybe in your head. And from another angle, it's from the trading volume, above 10 trillion Hong Kong dollar. So even a small percentage means a big number.
Got it. Thank you for that. We're running a little bit out of time. I'm gonna throw out probably the most confusing concept to me: centralization and decentralization. Every time I get in that discussion with any of you guys, my head just spins because it seems like I'm chasing my tail. So when you think about crypto future, I'll throw this at a vulgar. Do you think it leans towards decentralization or centralization?
You know, when you dive, especially for the swimming, you have to kind of hit the bottom rock and then you can push yourself up. I think we started with the idea, the cutting every middleman. It was decentralization. We have to do peer-to-peer transfer and the system kind of approves it, and that's how we become super efficient. Today, it's the total opposite. We are very excited that institutions are coming in, and every middleman we actually wanted to cut, we are happy that they're coming in and bringing the money, whether it's BlackRock, whether it's institution, whether it's the legislation. And I think we are about to hit that rock bottom and then kind of push ourselves up, and future should be decentralized, because once we cut the middleman, we are becoming faster and efficient, and if we still keep that middleman and everyone kind of tries to add value and then cut a commission, then we are just putting the same system. And I think the biggest mistake in the technology was when we had the A4 paper, then we invented PDF, and every digital document is actually limited by that A4 paper limit, while in digital screen there isn't any limit. And if we do the same with the financial system, where we take the same system, put on chain, but keep the limits, then there will be no innovation. And I think that is what we need to make sure, that when we do that shift, we don't bound ourselves with the limits that we had before.
I know you're passionate about this, okay? You have 30 seconds. Go at it.
I was just going to say that, you know, I think the only way that crypto and digital assets were able to get this far is with centralization.
Okay.
There's just no other way to gain this type of momentum that we have right now, because decentralized finance is really, really hard. There's so many different layers, you know, from, you know, the blockchains themselves, the smart contracts, and, you know, everything that is involved is kind of this big mainframe. And effectively for the last decade, if you wanted to interact with decentralized finance, you basically had to input stuff in the mainframe. So the people that adopted it were highly incentivized by, and again, going back to what you were saying, adoption from a greed perspective, because the incentive was so high for them to go over there and they'll learn the ropes and everything. But your everyday person will not learn how to type in stuff in the mainframe. But what we're starting to see right now is that the pieces are coming together, and in the next, you know, couple of years, you're going to start seeing decentralized finance being more the underlying infrastructure rather than centralized kind of infrastructure that people are going to be interacting with. And, you know, we don't have time to dive into all the upsides of decentralization, but I think the core concepts, everyone understands them. I think it most certainly needs to go towards decentralization, permissionless, and all of these kind of removing the middleman, because ultimately, if we reproduce the same financial system, but just on the blockchain that has all the same middlemans, we're just not which would still be permission as well. We're not bringing any new value, you know.
Got it. Okay. So look, we've run out of time. But I'm going to ask final questions. I want to know. I want you guys to put your mouth where your money is. You guys know that I'm less than 1%, 0.65 to be exact. Daniel, what percent of your personal income is in crypto related?
So crypto related and both private investments and crypto itself, because I'm a believer of the infrastructure now. I think it's early stages for decentralized. I think we're centralized now.
Daniel, what's the number? What's the number?
20%.
20%.
Yeah,
20%,
and 80%
okay.
would be AI related. So I think that's a huge percentage. If you think of digital assets as percentage of overall assets, it's tiny. So 20% would be a massive overweight of digital assets.
Got it. Vugar?
I already answered it. 98% all my investments are in digital.
I couldn't hear it?
98% are all in digital.
Wow, okay.
That's why I'm always poor.
I think I can guess Jason, but I'll let Jason answer the question.
I mean, I'm all in. You know, obviously, I'm a builder. So that's my short answer.
Amazing. I'm going to protect my friend because these are sensitive things. So I won't ask you. Okay, you can tell me later. Okay.
Anyway, I don't have much money.
But in closing comments, look, let me just make a few comments here. You know, as an investor, and I look at this all through the lens of investor, I simplify things. As an investor, there's really three basic things I look for. Number one is return, of course, and consistent return. So some of the volatility certainly scares me, but over time, as we get consistent returns, I find that much more attractive. The second thing that I tend to look for is it's secure. I don't want there to be any sense that I can lose my money, okay? And then of course the third thing is liquidity. So when I attend these type of events and I listen to all the companies, what I ask of all the people in the ecosystem, at least for me as an investor, to remember those three building blocks, to deliver value, to deliver return, to make it secure so I can sleep at night owning this stuff, and then make it liquid so that I can move it around the world. And so to me, that's how I would judge it. I will make one prediction. If I'm asked back to this event next year, I think that my allocation will go up. And so let's see, okay? In 12 months, we'll talk again. Thank you, panelists. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, our panelists. And now, please remain on the stage to take a group photo to save the best moments in the first panel discussion at GM Vietnam 2025. Once again, thank you very much for dedicating a lot of up-to-date information to the first panel discussion. Once again, thank you very much to all our panelists. Now you can return to your seats to continue with our program.